Good morning and welcome to Friday, the last day of the week and the last day of the Good Morning Education show for this week. Thank you for staying with us all through the week. My name is Finifolu Falodo and I'll be holding forth this morning. I'll be your host this morning on the show. Thank you so much to every one of our tribe members who join us every morning. And for those of you who have been told about us and you are here to see for yourself, I say welcome. You are going to be super blown. You probably have not heard enough about what we do on the show, but welcome to the show. And we're very glad to have you with us this morning. Good morning, Eunice Ohamigwe. Thank you for joining us. She's one of our loyal tribe members from Lagos. As you join us, as you come into the show, please drop your location. Would like to know where you're joining us from. We have tribe members from all over the world, not just the country, from all over the world. And we are always pleased to welcome new people to the tribe. We have a bell of blessing, but I don't have the bell close to me here, but we would welcome you very heartily and very warmly, all the same, regardless of the bell. You're welcome to the show this morning. We would like for you to to subscribe to the channel on YouTube and spread the word, share the link, let your friends, let your network, let them know about what is going on the Good Morning Education Show, particularly educators and parents. This is where they want to be. This is where they want to be. We Our usual practice on the show is we start off with headlines. Um, we start off with headlines and then we go to our topic for the day. Usually, we go into the topic for sorry we go into the headlines in and around the world of education, and then we would usually have our panel of analysts take on the different topics that we have for the day. And so this morning will not be different. We will be starting off with the headlines of the news that we have been able to curate for you from the dailies this morning. Our first headline says Akwa Ibom to review expulsion of university student accused of insulting governor. Okay, so the news says that Governor Udom Emmanuel of Akwa Ibom State has set up a committee to investigate the circumstances surrounding the expulsion of a final year student in a university who was accused of making derogatory remark on Facebook against the governor. Um, one thing that comes to me or that jumps at me from this is first, nobody is saying or would recommend. I don't know any sane person who will recommend that a younger person is disrespectful to an older person. We are all for respect for authority, but at the same time, we should not be gagging the freedom of expression. I mean, if whatever it is that he posted on his Facebook page was really that derogatory, was really that bad, I think it could have been there could have been a leaner or more what now not the consequence shouldn't be as high as expulsion. I mean, we have had some of people in some of our older parents now and older people in the in the society who are known to be freedom fighters and who had done all it took for them to have a voice and to be able to speak up against things that they did not stand for in the society. So we have had recently the trending Twitter ban, and then now we are having this. Does this mean that we're going to have Facebook also banned? Well, we watch to see what happens with that. We wait to see what the resolution would be. But seeing as the governor has set up a committee to look into this, I'm hoping that the review of the committee and whatever they come up with will be, yes, there could be consequences. I don't have an access. I don't have access to his Facebook page, so I don't know what he posted. But there could be consequences, but not as serious as terminating his. Except he's actually been divisive, or he's trying to incite violence in the state, or aside that, Akwa Ibom state government and the school authorities, please temper justice with mercy. Thank you. Uh, the next headline says NCCE trains 300 educators on new curriculum. I mean, we have been talking about the need for a new curriculum across the education sector, and now the National Commission for Colleges of Education, in collaboration with the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, that's UNESCO, has trained 300 pre-service and in-service teachers on the reviewed curricula on family life and emerging health issues. Man, we've had a lot of, maybe a spike in the number of teenagers getting, teenagers being involved in risky behavior. The lockdown probably didn't even help issues. Those of them that were in the same environment could easily link up with each other, and a lot of risky behavior, STIs, and all of that. And I find it very instructive and really very, it's good that this was taken to the educators themselves. It's not that we're not training external people that schools will now have to take on as maybe consultants, which is good. But these teachers stay with the children a lot more. They're in contact with them every day. They are in contact with them for longer hours than just having one person. So at different times during the school period, they can chip in these things. They can they can alert the children. Just let them know that these are the things that you don't experiment with this. You don't, staying safe, staying away from trouble. That's is a really good one. And introducing family life, and what now? Emerging health issues is a really. We used to have biology treated, but I was shocked to find out some years ago that there are actually some schools where biology is not taught. I was really shocked to find out that, and I had a teenage boy on my hands who was having issues simply because biology wasn't taught in the school. He didn't know how to handle puberty and the changes that came with puberty. So kudos and thank you to the National Commission for Colleges of Education for being proactive in this manner. And we have been joined by, I believe that is Omotola Akinshola. Am I right? Okay, one of our analysts is up here. Not saying who it is yet, and your audio is not up yet. Oh, okay, it's Mr. Ola Kazim. Welcome to the show this morning. We are happy and we are glad to have you on the show this morning, Mr. Ola Nikbekun Kazim.
Thank you.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Network, please be kind to our guest this morning. Okay, so we wait for him to come back on to join us again on the show. The next headline says Tanzania to offer alternative education for school dropouts, including pregnant girls. Now, this is one headline that I probably will just keep for now. Let's hope that Mr. Olakazem is able to join us. I would really like to hear his thoughts on that headline. He really is a player in that in that field, and oh, great, great. He's back here. Good morning, Mr. Olakazim.
Good morning, Madam Finn. How are you doing, Madam?
I'm very well, thank you. You're welcome to our show. You're welcome to our house. You're welcome to our institute. Sorry, the VC is not around yet, but the Good Morning Education Show is an award. Um, is an is an award giving institute, but that's only done by the VC of the institute. That's Professor Rotimi Ayitayo. I'm sure if you stick with us for much longer, he's going to award you. He's going to give you a degree very soon.
I'll be very happy to be conferred a degree by. Thank you very much for having me. I'm just getting the hang of the morning. I just dropped my daughter off at school, so so we're
Okay.
here together. Yeah, that's it.
All right then. Okay, so I'd like to have your thoughts on this headline that we have from one of the headlines. It says Tanzania to offer alternative education for school dropouts, including pregnant girls. I know you do a lot in the area of ensuring that public school students, especially, have better education opportunities and linking them up with. What do you think about this? We definitely are going to come to your program at the end
Yeah.
of the headlines. But what's your thought on this headline?
Well, I think there's no way we want to address this particular headline without considering our um, social response to things in Africa, and that's the reason for this type of headlines. I think it's a welcome idea because most of the time in Africa, knowing that once you're a school dropout or you get pregnant, well, pregnancy a lot of times in Africa is always resulting to dropouts for the average lady in Africa and in Nigeria. So, having to create this alternative education for them is saying that, okay, we know that for certain circumstances, you're unable to follow through with your academics. But we also understand the importance of these academics in your basic life, in building, a better life in the future. So having to create such program for this category of people, I consider it a fantastic initiative in ensuring that youths who are drop out from schools, and then ladies who have gotten pregnant in the course of being in school, that the academic the academic pursuit has only been, so what it's saying is that it has only been slowed down, it has not been terminated. So, and that's a welcome, and that's a fantastic idea in supporting them, because most of these young girls who get pregnant did not get pregnant because they also want to end their academic pursuits. Certain things must have happened in their lives. Certain engagements, certain values must have been lost at some point in their lives. Be it something they know about or something they do not know about, be it abuse, whatever it is that must have caused them to get pregnant, has come to disrupt the academic, program. So instead of the society to then, set them back and say, well, which is what usually used to be the norm, since you have gotten pregnant, well, that's the end. You need to find a way to come and start selling cocoa, or begin to come and start selling boli and ekpa, and then education for you is over. I remember growing up very well that one of the things we used to hear is that parents do tell the female child, once you get pregnant, your life is over, your academic is over, you will never become anything. So having to bring out such an initiative to better the lives of these children, even the dropouts, because it's not everybody that drops out from school on their own accord. There's certain things within the system as children that is not favorable most of the time from home, be it the finance, be it accommodation, be it food. There are lots of things that stand in the gap, that stands in the way of the average child to become a dropout from school, not necessarily the academics. And even if we come to the academics, dropout sometimes, a lot of times, is a function of them not getting adequate support, either at home or in school, that has affected their academic standing, which then, causes them to fail, or causes them to have other issues that has made them drop out. Another reason that they can be dropped out from school could be as a function of the loss of a family or someone, that has affected the child so much that they are unable to concentrate. Could be a function of an accident, could be a function of sickness. So many things causes children to become dropouts. And dropout means you're unable to complete your academic, program within a specific time. So instead of the challenge taking over the entire academic journey from you, where you're unable to complete it for the rest of your life, they're now saying we're creating alternative education for these children so that, regardless of what has happened in their lives, they can then come back again, make this pursuit, and become better people with this academics, because it's a great foundation for anybody to have a fantastic academic background.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was really that's almost like a topic on its own. And if we continue, we would not take the rest of the headlines. But really, it's a good initiative, and I hope that we have people in our sector and in our system who are paying attention to these things, who are paying attention to what Tanzania is doing and taking a cue from it. So moving on to the next headline. Fair in Akwa Ibom as cult activities take over primary secondary schools. Before, what we used to hear was cultism in the university, and that was even being fought. There's been a lot of effort in trying to reduce that, fight it down. And then, yes, sometimes we heard about initiations in primary schools, from sweet to, there was this thing we used to call seven color then, and then you don't take this or that because the child, but it's really becoming, I mean, in secondary schools, in primary schools now, we're almost having the same level of university cultism at the lower levels of education. What's your thoughts on this very briefly, please?
I'm aware of the part where you said very briefly, so that I don't take too much of the. Okay, so just like every other problem that we are facing as a country, um, uh, to the best of my knowledge, corruption is not something that that started with our children. It started with our caregivers, our leaders, and then it's been passed down. Now, what has happened is that as grown-ups, as adults, we have successfully, you know, shown a lifestyle, and we have added certain values to that lifestyle, and we are gradually saying, oh yes, it's very acceptable, to live such lifestyle. So as children, the only thing they do is to learn from us, because we are the ones they learn from. Everything a child does, they do it because those people who they look up to are doing it. So we have made cultism, and we have not been able to establish cultism as we have not been able to establish, the values, the if there are any values attached to cultism, and we have also not been able to attach the negative impact of cultism in such a way that consequences are met with actions on the higher level. So people have now considered cultism on the higher level as a means to show superiority, as a means to show relevance, as a means to show, authenticity amongst.
Oh wow.
So they are
Welcome,
beginning to see
Ugochi.
that. Yes. So they are beginning to see that this is a fantastic livelihood. They are beginning to say that, okay, this is how you show. So the same way every child wants to become a footballer, every child wants to become a dancer, every child wants to become a musician, every child wants to become an artist, every child wants to become an actor now, because they have been able to look into the things that are happening now, and then they're beginning to say, okay, if this is what society says, is a good way to show, relevance, is a good way to show growth, is a good way to show is a good way to show authenticity. We too, we can start it. So I am learning from somebody as a child in secondary school. I am learning from somebody in the university or my other brother or in my neighborhood, and everybody seemed to respect this person because of cultism. Then I begin to have a new knowledge as to how I can bully those within my space, and how I can begin to, move in the sense of authority within my space. So that's the reason why we're beginning to have all of these things overflow into secondary school and primary school. But unfortunately, most of the parents are not even there enough to know that all of these things are actually happening. And again, the reason they are also happening is because parents do not also take time to help their children understand the importance, to help their children understand the negative impact of cultism on their lives, where the child has adequate information as to the consequences of their own personal role. Now, the consequences on another child, the consequences on themselves, on their lives, on their future, for them to be able to, because every child is still going to be by themselves. It is the value system that you have created in them that helps them determine how they are going to make use of that information, that system. If you permit me, I can give you a life example too of my own personal life. So while I was in university, as I was getting into the university, I joined a cult. Now, in joining that cult, there were three good friends in the same apartment. Two of us decided to join the cult, but this person left cult. But we lived together with us. We did everything, ate together, went to school together, did so many things together. But he had a grounded value system as to what he will not do. And everything, all of that action is a function of his background, his value system against certain things, and he refused. He was not moved by peer pressure. It's not like we're putting pressure on him, but there were things that were happening around me. I could get people who come to pick me up and wonder for himself, and where he was not going to get himself found because of the value system inculcated, and he has now taken that value system and he has built on it. So the challenge we are having is that a lot of parents don't even know that these children are exposed to a number of things to be able to even address it. And the ones that know, unfortunately, sometimes either try to cover up the news so that the child does not get exposed to it, thinking they're protecting the child, but the child is going to get exposed to it. So it's a critical issue, and I hope that the government, the parents, the society, and then caregivers and well-meaning people can rise up to the occasion to begin to help the child understand the impact of cultism in the lives of the child, in the lives of those who they are supposed to be against, in their own personal life, in the lives of their parents, and ultimately as they move forward in life. I hope I was able to keep that brief.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olakazim. Ugochi, you're welcome to the show this morning. It's nice to see you again today.
Good morning, Fee. Good morning, Mr. Kazim. Good to see you. Good to have you here this morning. Can you hear me? You guys are not looking like you can hear me. Okay, you're not looking like you can hear me. Okay. Okay. All right.
So, Ugochi, I would like for you to comment on the next headline, which is still back to Akwa Ibom. Now, the headline says Uyo High School shut down as students give principal 24 hours ultimatum to release detained cultists. It's gotten that bad now.
They gave an ultimatum. That is interesting. When Mr. Kazim was speaking, I was just smiling because he just said my heart. I still mentioned this when I was interviewed on TVC, I think last month. And students are a reflection of what they see in society. It's sad that it has now come to the part where the students are now threatening their principal. So, I always say that before something bad happens, there's been a chain of errors. Before it got this bad, there were a lot of things that were happening and people were ignoring it. It was permissible. And that is why something of this magnitude would happen and they would have the effrontery to make a decision like this. I'll just say that at this point, the police security agencies have to get into this matter, because this has to be handled well. If it is not handled properly, it's going to set a precedent for more destructive things like this to happen in the coming months, in the coming years. And we don't want that to happen. Instead, the proper management of this situation is going to de-escalate any such actions like this in the near future. So it needs to be seen that cultism is not tolerated, insubordination is not tolerated, disrespect is not tolerated, and that people are going to be protected when they stand up to do the right thing. Now, if this principal looks around and sees that no security agency to protect, their life might be at stake, the family member's life might be at stake. Even if they know better, they might, take the path of least resistance because they don't want to get hurt. And that is not good enough. We need to have systems that would protect people when they stand up to do the right thing, so that these kinds of things do not keep happening. It's really sad that it has gotten to this point.
The headline, the news item itself is one that is quite interesting, not entertaining, interesting, but to see how much things have degenerated. It talks about the students attacking first, that school is known for cult wars, and then they're attacking a filling station.
I know Uyo High School. I heard about Uyo High School, even as a student in Air Force. Like, how as a student in a school, you will hear that school, they are rough. So I heard that then, and this was between 1999 and 2004. So you can imagine that means they have grown in their roughness, because this is 2021, right?
It's not the same set of students from that time. So it means the tradition and the culture is being passed on.
Exactly.
And the part of it that really got to me was them saying to the principal that they had been defending him, but now he's fighting them and they're watching their. No, there needs to be thorough cleaning in this system, real thorough cleaning. And for parents who really want to be a part of ensuring that their children are not part of cults, I think they should check out this particular news item and read the entire thing. See how, because it's very easy for us to sit in a cocoon and say, oh, it's not that bad, things are not happening that much, until you read it or until you see it. Then I really recommend that. Parents, educators, check out this particular news item. It's in the Daily Post. Okay, moving on, we have essentially one more, but UTME is back again in the news, and it says that how NIN helps in checking multiple malpractices. We really hope that NIN is helping JAMB, the exam body, in checking exam malpractices. I really hope so. They had moved to CBT, they had moved to type, they had types, paper types and all of that, in ensuring that malpractices are reduced. But all the same, but candidly, I think we should all move away from UTME. They've been in the news since Monday. In fact, since last week. And we really are not getting so much new news from them. It's the same thing over and over and over again. Okay, so our last headline for this morning: girls in North constitute highest percentage of 13.5 million out of school Nigerian children. Just earlier, we talked about the intervention that the Tanzanian government had put in place for its out of school and pregnant students. Ugochi, what's your thoughts on this? The girls in the northern part of Nigeria contribute to the highest percentage. First of all, 13.5 million out of school children is a lot.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So I know that, this is part of the reason we keep talking about opportunities for girls, because many times they just seem to always be in the majority where people are shortchanged. You see, and I don't think that this is good enough. I think that opportunity should be made for children, all children, to have access to education and quality care, most especially in their formative years. It's not good that they keep being marginalized. It's not good that they keep losing out. And many times they might also be very, very intelligent. They also have the necessary skills, but then they are not given the opportunity to grow and become better. And this is sad. And it's my hope that the state governors in those states where this is really high begin to come up with interventions that would sort this out across the entire value chain, because there are many things I don't want to mention. There are various factors that could lead to girls being in the high majority in that part of the country, and based on certain peculiarities to that part of the country. And so that is why interventions that are community based, that take into cognizance all necessary factors, must be developed, all parties carried along, so that these children can be in school.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. We have talked about not leaving any child behind. And yes, we are not going to leave any child behind as much as is possible. And with that, we have come to the end of the news headline reviews for this morning. We've almost had like a new discussion topic from the headlines. I mean, if we stay on that alone, we probably are not going to be able to have our topic today. But as these issues come up, and as this we all live in the society, we see those things that are happening. We're hoping that it's not just going to be, they won't just be topics of discussion, but that there would really be action taken, and more collaborations between parties. Okay, so to our topic for today, we're talking about being college ready. Yesterday we talked about options, and I see this as a form of options, being giving secondary school students moving on to college. Now options are before them, options of picking their colleges, options of picking their, well, as we use it in our climb, universities and maybe polytechnics, colleges of education, technical, some other specialized universities or institutions. And so that's what we are talking about this morning. How does a student really get college ready? Okay, I think I'm going to start this with Ugochi because of obvious reasons. She's going on to higher college now. She's going on to higher college now. And what makes a student college ready?
Okay, so now, aside my personal example, let me just even start from the basic. So if we're talking about a student going from secondary school to university, right? That's from secondary school to university. That's what we originally mean, right?
Yes. Yes, that's what we're talking about.
Okay. So I wanted to be able to take it from both sides. So as a student goes through that, time you are getting done with secondary school, you're already having desires of the things you want to be in future, and you're already seeing the certain courses that can, put you in that career pathway. And so that even now begins to decide what type of college you want to go to, where is it going to be located, are you going to do it within the country or outside? So those are the conversations young people begin to have. So what makes them ready? It's just because it's for them, it's just the natural phase of life at that point. It's just the next, I mean, when you're done with secondary school, what else is there, right? So for them, it's just the natural thing to do. That, oh, okay, yes, we have to go to the university. I want to study because, when you go to university, then you study, you come out with your grades, then you can work. That's just the trajectory that we've been taught all along. So for many people, it's that. Then there are other people who that is not the phase of life they are in. For some reason, after secondary school, they had to maybe work, do other kinds of work, and then they didn't go to college, right? College readiness for them would be that they've gotten to a point in their life where they realize that, okay, for me to get better opportunities, or for me to be an expert in a certain area, I need to go for education in this area. So that is why someone who for many years had to be a fashion designer because maybe when it was time to go to secondary school, she didn't, her parents couldn't afford it. But then later on, she gets to a point in life where she decides that, oh, I really need a degree. And so even though she's a more mature adult, she doesn't mind. She pays her fees and then she goes into the university. It doesn't matter, she's going to be in class with maybe a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old, because she knows what she's looking for. She knows that having that degree is going to position her for certain opportunities. Now, for some other people, being college ready again could be that, okay, yes, you've gotten your first degree, right? But then you see you see other career prospects, or due to, changing times, you are now interested in another area that you feel is going to, should I say, make you more competitive in the marketplace. And then you decide, okay, so even though I already had an undergraduate degree in so and so area, I want to have a postgraduate degree in another area. So basically, college readiness is about, for some people, it's about age. It's about age in the sense that, okay, so at this stage of life, this is the next thing that needs to be done. For some people, it's to improve their career prospect. For some other people, it's just personal development, in order to, should I say, stand out in a particular area, or in order to become thought leaders in a particular area. And there are some other people who are just going to college just for knowledge sake. So, for example, when the former president Olusegun Obasanjo went to go and study, I think, divinity or something like that, when he was interviewed, he mentioned that he was just for knowledge sake, knowledge. So I think that those are the factors that, should I say, come together for college readiness. I hope I answered this question well.
Yes, you did, but isn't that last point, for me, I'm not sure that we would have many secondary school students just going on to the university for knowledge sake. See, retired grandpas and retired grandmas, they decide to go back just for knowledge sake or just for the novelty. They just want to keep themselves busy. But for the younger people, staying in school, it requires a lot. So now say I want to do a 4-year course or a 5-year course. And if you happen to stay in Nigeria, where a 5-year course or a 4-year course can become, I did how many years? I did almost 9 years for a 4-year course.
Wow.
So
Wow, you're supposed to be a doctor.
I'm telling you, my BSc, my MSc, and my PhD, I had done everything at BSc level, So for somebody to go into school for the fun or just for knowledge sake, maybe after 5 years, I would just have pulled out. I don't think I would have stayed for up to 5 years, because in those 5 years, I probably was still in year 2. I think I was still in year 2. The calendar was just very crazy like that. Okay, but you also mentioned something about age. And so my next question is going to Mr. Kazim. Many of the Nigerian, in fact, all colleges that I know of, usually have a minimum age requirement before a child or before an individual is accepted into the university. Does age really have anything to do with college readiness? Apart from the grandpas or like those retired people that just want to,
Now,
does age have anything to do with it?
Okay, so it's the issue of this age has been a topic to be debated in the last couple of years. I think before about 4 or 5 years ago, age wasn't anything to consider. We were in a system where if you're lucky to graduate from secondary school before the age of 14 and you get admission into university, you can actually go ahead and start up your college program. However, while in secondary school, there's always you have caregivers that are looking after you. This is usually not the case when you go into college. You have people who would chase you, so literally do your assignments, who would punish you for not paying attention in class or not coming to class. But for college, it's completely different. You own the entire responsibility, 1000%, as to how, what the results and what your results and progress in college is going to be. Nobody is going to help you, nobody's interested in helping you get better. You decide in the morning if you want to go to school. You decide if you want to read. You can stand
in secondary school, you cannot decide in class that you are no longer interested in the class and you want to step out. It's going to be a huge war between you and your class teacher. But in college, you can decide that you've had enough of the class in 5 minutes of being in class and step out, and nobody's going to hold you responsible. Nobody's going to, or you would only be accountable and be responsible for the outcome, but nobody's going to stop you from taking such action. So yes, age for me plays a very huge role in college, because there's a difference between your reasoning at age 14 and your reasoning at age 17 and 18. Now, to be on the safe side, in college, you are exposed to so many people. So where the value system is also not grounded, I always come back to this value system, it means that you can be easily manipulated as a child between the ages of 13 and 14, when you begin to live your life alone without any guidance or any supervision whatsoever, as compared to when you are already getting to the adult age of 18, where you are expected to be able to, because at 18 it means that you can go to jail. At 18 it means that you have the capacity to make the decision that is right or wrong, and you are very certain of the consequences of your action. And the law also stands on your side to say at this age you can make certain decisions and you will be held accountable for those decisions. So I think age plays a very huge role in this part of the world, where going to college at 14 is usually, we have people who are exceptionally bright. There's some people that are exceptionally bright that if you give them the chance, they would actually be graduating from college at 17. They will graduate from college at 16. So people are exceptionally bright like that. However, that age, when you go into college, is usually not about the academics alone. It's about the interaction. It's about survival. It's about having to deal with community, society, everything that has to do within that system of being in college. So it's a lot more than just going to class, studying, and then writing exams. In college is where you build a lot of relationships with people that you then begin to decide who are the people you're dropping. So your circle of friends most likely grows. And when I mean grows, I mean grow in quality as you go up the ladder in college. In your first year, you are mingling with everybody. In your second year, you're gradually going into a closed classroom. So what age does is it helps you to be able to interact more with people on an intelligent level. Age, exposure, and everything that happens to you. So age allows you to grow a little bit more. However, we still have some people who are younger and are smarter and more intelligent because of their interactions and their exposure with people. But because of the legal age as to what you can be responsible for, and then knowing that the chances of being able to be manipulated as a child is minimized when you are older, then these are the conditions you consider. And these are the reasons why I would say that I do not think that a child of 14, 15, 16 should be in college, because you're exposed to a lot more things for me. And I understand that you can sometimes, the chances of being manipulated, also exist within those spaces. So if a child is able to graduate from secondary school at the age of 14, there are other things that they can actually engage in terms of their academics in preparation for college. And so imagine you have a 14 or 15-year-old that wants to go and study in the United States, no family, nobody, nothing. You put a 14-year-old on a plane to go and start a new life. I think it's a bit sensitive, to put a 14-year-old to go and start a life all by themselves in college at that age. So this is my take on the issue.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Kazim. You have raised a number of issues. And see, as we were talking, the child psychologist in me was thinking in different directions, because when it comes to this age thing, there is a reason why there is a chart of ages and the stages of education that an individual should be at those ages. We're not saying that there are precocious children, there are geniuses, but that is intellectual knowledge. It's very different from emotional knowledge, psychological maturity. And the older we get, the more experiences we have, which shape the way we make decisions, which shape the way we interact with our world. And all of these days we're having more children who are underage, but biologically more children now look a whole lot older than they are. So you come across a girl who is just 10 and she's looking 16. And one thing that we don't realize, unfortunately, women are very guilty of this. So even before the child is out of diapers, we're already putting wigs on their head and making up for them. I have seen that was maybe the height of it for me. Seeing makeup on a 1 year old, full makeup. I mean, that was the height of it for me. And so you take those children looking all matured, and they're just babies, and we expose them to the world, and the society deals with them with the way it sees them, deals with them with their biological makeup. So you put such children out there and we send them off to college, and it's no, I don't think we're surprised at the spike in the number of young people, adolescent, teenage suicides that we have been seeing, because they really cannot cope. And then when university, and sometimes I think schools are responsible for this. This system of, this child is very brilliant, so they skip classes, and then parents joy in that and say, oh, my child has given double promotion. My child is too. No, at the time when those things begin to show up, especially in you're giving maybe it's like giving a 12-year-old that says, oh, daddy, I like to drive. And because he's tall and, well, maybe his frame fits into a car perfectly, we say, okay, take the car and drive. At that age, he can't handle driving a car. So giving them that unrestrained freedom to just go out there and be what they want to be. Just like you have said, college, it's no man's land. That's non-private colleges. Private colleges are like that. That's discussion for another day. They are like the extension of where you're coming from. So you still have people watching you and monitoring you. We still have, which is the question I'm bringing to. I'm coming to Ugochi with that. But normally college is, I feel like it's trial adulthood in a way. Before you get exposed into the real world, college is like trial adulthood. How do you handle yourself? How do you handle your finances? How do you handle networking, friendships, relationships? How do you handle your emotions? It's like an introduction to self. Before we go on, I would like to welcome Abigail Solomon. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Ugochi, this would be, well, I would give you two in one questions. So, one, in colleges where the individuals, because they're no longer children, in colleges where the students are still monitored and pampered and treated as children, what are the likely consequences of this for that individual in future? And secondly, what skills do students really need to survive? If they were to pack a bag and they could put just 4 skills in that bag, what 4 skills are the top skills for them to take on?
Thank you so much for your question. So, in schools where they are still being treated as children, in quotes, the challenge with that is they will not they won't make informed decisions by themselves. And I know that many times there's a stereotype where people say that oh, some private schools do this and all that. I don't think all private universities do that. And I also think that even when private schools do it, it's not because they don't want the children to be independent. It's just because they are setting boundaries for especially when it's a religious institution. They're just setting boundaries to reduce negative influences. When we talk about risk mitigation, one of the ways is to reduce the opportunity for something bad, a risk to happen. And so when private universities, most especially the ones with religious leanings, have those regulations and those boundaries, it's just a method to reduce the risk. It's almost like saying, we know that we may not have you guys 100% on this, but if we put this rule, maybe it can reduce it to a certain percentage. Do you understand? So, however, in places where it is really almost like a boarding secondary school, it just means that the children by themselves will not would not learn the fast skill of making independent decisions. And that's one of the key things for in being an adult, to be able to make important life-changing decisions, wise ones for that matter, not just anyone that can get you in trouble. So that's the challenge with being in a college like that. Then talking about skills that is really important. If they were to pack a bag, I like this your analogy. If they were to pack a bag, I would say first of all is self-leadership. And self-leadership is critical because when Mr. Kazim was speaking, he was talking about the fact that nobody is going to force you to stay in class. But you've got to be able to own up to your own self that this is the reason you're in school and stay in class even when you don't feel like. So when you have all the freedom in the world, what are you going to do with it? So self-leadership is very important. Grooming is very important. This is a stage where you are going to be out of home. Nobody's going to force nobody. Maybe if you were in your house before, they used to force you to take your bath in the morning and night, maybe brush your teeth in the morning and night. I used to feel like they were stressing your life. Now you're in school where nobody is stressing you, and you now have to determine if you are really going to do it. Grooming, the ability to show up and you do not affect the air temperature in that place, and the ability to show up neatly, because grooming is not just about wearing the most expensive thing, it's about the one you have. Can you still put yourself together neatly and as clean as possible? Are there extremities that need to be shaved and cut and clean as and when due? So that grooming is very important, because this is how um, you become an adult that is not repulsive. That's not repulsive. Many people have body odor not because they were born with body odor per se, but it's because of poor grooming, and then because they've been like that for years, it kind of stuck to them, almost like a second skin, and it shouldn't be. So this is still formative years, being in college. So that grooming is very important. And then interpersonal relationship is also very critical. You're going to be meeting people from all sorts of background, the rich and poor, the people who have maybe, for example, had varied life experiences. Maybe they've had opportunity to live outside the country, or maybe they've had opportunity to work in certain kinds of communities. So, all sorts of perspectives are going to be with you. Now, the ability to relate with human beings in a way where you're able to respect people, understand their backgrounds, and still communicate, even when you don't necessarily agree with what they are saying, without resulting to blows and insult, is critical. It's critical. I shared a post yesterday on social media, and I've just been getting private feedback. A lot of people are not saying their comments in the comment section. It's private feedback. And that's because we have too many young people who are becoming emotionally fragile. They're becoming so every small thing you want to cancel people. If you cancel everybody, who are you going to live with? How are you going to learn? How are you going to grow? So you've got to, be able to withstand pressure in your environment, learn from it, take the necessary lessons. And so that's why that interpersonal skill is really important. The ability to relate with other people, get their perspective, and still maintain respect and cordial relationships with them. Then the fourth one, I would say negotiation. Negotiation and conflict resolution. This is important because when you step into an environment where you're going to meet all sorts of people, it is bound for conflict to happen. It's just normal. People are going to rub you the wrong way, and you too are going to rub off people the wrong way. So how are you going to manage to ensure that even after a disagreement or a conflict, everybody can still see themselves the next day and say hello to each other without bad blood? You know, it's really important. And some of these things are things that they can start to learn from the home front, from the primary and secondary school, you know, being put in leadership positions, working in teams and all that. So now when they step into college, it's an opportunity to practice these skills in a wider terrain. And that's why I love the program Mr. Kazim organizes every year, this summer camp with teenagers, where they are groomed across all areas. You know, it's to have a well-rounded individual. That's what we want at the end of the day. Because a well-rounded individual comes into any space with this sense of responsibility, and so they act well. They just act well. But someone who is not well-rounded can just come and mess up the whole atmosphere because they are not emotionally intelligent. They are not sure when to keep quiet or when to, you know, should I say, disagree to agree, you know, and so it just causes a lot of problem in the environment. So those are the skill main interpersonal relationship. Well, networking is also in that, and then of course negotiation and conflict resolution. And negotiation is critical because imagine you are staying in a hostel with somebody. The person likes to listen. The person likes to read while listening to music, and you like to read when everywhere is absolutely quiet. You people have to negotiate. You've got to find a way to come to the middle ground. It's really important.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ugochi. So, for the student getting ready for college in, come September, August, September, you need to have self-leadership, grooming, interpersonal relations, conflict, and negotiation skills, conflict resolution and negotiation skills in your bag. And thank you for, you have just led us into the next thing that we are doing now. Mr. Ola Kazim is going to tell us about the program. I listened to him talk about it, and it was just, it's an initiative that should be out there and something that should gain a lot of traction and mileage. But hey, let's hear directly from, not the horse's man's mouth now, but let's hear directly from the man's mouth. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Fiyin. Ugochi, you have actually done, a foundational justice to this floor that has been given to me already. Okay, so I know that I'm supposed to always consider timing in everything that I'm going to be doing, so I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. The coming program for this particular topic we're even dealing with today, which is actually college ready, is an absolute perfect timing for my program to be discussed on the Good Morning Nigeria show. And I'm very, very happy and glad that I'm being invited over to come and have a conversation with this team. It's absolutely fantastic interview and conversations since we started off this morning. So for every child that is actually going to college, there's actually that moment when that child would have actually thought about who they really want to become. And who they want to become it always has its conditions in what are the courses that you're going to take in school, what are the things that you're going to be, what are the courses you're going to be taking, what department or what career options are you looking into. One of the things we have actually found over the years is that a lot of children pick different courses that they're interested in, and they go on with that mindset throughout their lives with little or no exposure. So they finish from secondary school and then they go into the university, they go into college. And immediately after college, the average child is expected to be coming out of college between the age of almost 22 and then 25, the average child in Nigeria, between 22 and 25. So 22 means, you came out of school at 16, by 17, before the end of 17, you're getting into the university. 5 years, that's 22. Now, 25, 26, 27 is putting into consideration all the types of strike and all the type of issues that we have in Nigeria as a country. But once you take Nigeria out of it, the average child is coming out of college at 22, 23. Now, what usually happens is that by the time they're coming out at 22 and 23, youth service and all of that, something usually happens to them. That's when they begin to find themselves. That's when they begin to look for job opportunities within the space that they have studied over the last 4 to 5 years. And that's the first exposure they get. We have found that a lot of people might be interested in changing their career interests. But unfortunately, because they're 22 and then they're 23, what usually happens to them between a year and 2 of finding that they might not exactly be interested in that career space is that once they find out, it usually seems like it's already too late in our client, in Africa and in Nigeria. And the reason being that you then begin to have social and economic demands setting in on them. So they begin to look out for just survival at that point. So 2-3 years after university, 2 years, and then you're not finding something interesting about that thing that you have studied over the last 4 to 5 years, you're not finding it interesting. But you'll be interested in exploring other places. But most of the time, it's already too late. So you find them either sticking in a happy space or continuously tweaking their resumes to fit into somewhere else. And we always see these things in a lot of interview panels where when people come in, you find out that what they have done is that they have tweaked their CVs, them suited for a job. Or in the interview, they are unable to defend that tweak that they've come, because at that point, all they're interested in is just survival. So my own personal experience is what has birthed the program that we have been having every year, which is the Career Summer School program. And what this program actually does is that is meant specifically for teenagers. What we do is that we bring professionals in different areas of different professions, entertainment, sports, acting, and even the huge the normal professional white collar field. We bring in professionals from there to come and have conversations. And we're also very particular about the type of professionals we bring. We bring very young, productive professionals who have been able to make a mark either locally or internationally. We also try as much as possible to focus on these professionals to ensure that they are usually not above the age of 40, so that we can also pass across the message that our teenagers do not have to grow old to make a difference. At a younger age, you can actually make a difference. The reason is that this gives them an opportunity to have first-hand information about the life of these people that have been able to make a significant impact on the world and with their own personal lives. So hear firsthand from them, interact with them so that they can share their life experiences with you, so that you take that as a cue as to what it is that you're interested in. Whatever it is that your career goals and interests are, you take a cue from them to be able to build, on your life journey, learning from their experiences and the challenges that they've had and how they overcome them. Because these challenges are usually, though they vary from child to child, but there's significant challenges that we are all going to go through as teenagers before we get to that point that seem new, but they're not exactly new. So if you've gotten the opportunity to have conversations with people who have excelled in different fields, especially fields that you're interested in, you understand that when certain processes and times come to your life, you understand that you're already aware of such, and then you move on. Now, there are conversations that you would have with people who have successfully moved through a particular life pattern. That once you hear it, you're asking yourself immediately, am I exactly interested in this? So what the program does is that it allows our teenagers to interact with young professionals who are doing significantly well in their various areas of profession, so that they can learn from them and become better teenagers and better youth by the time they are getting into the university. Another thing that we also do in the program is that we have various topics that we understand that every teenager is going to be dealing with in their lives. So what we do is we give them exposure in those areas so that when those times come, they're able to handle those situations differently. For instance, we have 5 different classes that we have created specifically for the program. One of the classes is called Businesses and Industries, because we understand that after your teenage life, when you get into the higher institution, certain teenagers are going to decide that they're no longer interested in their career pursuit that they must have gone through for the last 4 to 7 years in university, and just begin to think, I want to do business. So in that class, we help them understand that at this point, one of the things you might want to do is to look at different organizations, as different organizations actually receive service from outside. So you want to begin to consider how to build the business acumen to be able to provide services for different organizations, since you do not want to go on to take on the white collar job. Another class is called goal setting and prioritization, to help these teenagers understand that at some point you might be interested, some of you will be interested in something else, but you'll be showing strength in something else. So helping them to understand the way of building on their strength first, and having to find extra time to actually support their interests in such a way that they can have a balance on making success in their area of strength and then building capacity in their area of interest in such a way that as time goes on, if the interest begins to flourish, it has the capacity to take over their area of strength. Another class there is the one we call the building healthy relationships, helping them understand the importance of relationships in their lives. Your relationship determines how far you go or how low you go. Nobody wakes up in the morning and is suddenly interested in smoking cigarettes because they cannot access it. They might not be able to, they might not be bold enough to access it themselves. So somebody is definitely going to encourage them and tell them that, oh, this is fantastic. For the ones that will be going into college, they never wake up in the morning and for a lady to be interested in prostitution, they have to be interested in it. For a guy to be interested in cultism, they have to be introduced to it. So helping them understand the importance of relationships, and then the benefits and advantages of having good relationships, and then the consequences of having bad relationships. Another class, we have what we call the personal expectation, social expectation versus real life experiences. This is one of my best class because these are one of the topics that I actually created. In that class, it helps the teenager to actually understand that there is what they expect for themselves. There is what their parents expect. There's what the society expects. But there's also something called real life experience. Real life experience means that you could actually write an exam and you fail. Real life experience means that you could lose a loved one. Real life experience means that you could actually lose a parent or lose both parents. Real life experiences means that there's so many things that can stand in your way. You could get pregnant, you could get involved in an accident that can actually stand in your way of not getting to your desired destination. But what are the things that you can do? What are the things that you need to do to overcome all of these things? So before the pandemic, one of the things that usually happened was that after the program, we then go out visiting different corporate organizations for them to actually expose these teenagers to the different career opportunities that exist. Immediately after that, about a week after the program, we have different organizations that are willing to take a number of teenagers based on their area of strength and interest to actually come and intern in their organizations for a period of 1 to 2 weeks, so that they have an understanding of what they're interested in and see if they'll be interested in moving forward with that career opportunity. I remember in 2019, we had a company called Donia Aviation. It's a private airline, and we had a couple of students visit that particular industry. And a boy who wanted to study aeronautic engineering actually changed his mind after his internship program to say that you rather focus on maintenance, the maintenance industry within the aeronautic space, rather than just being an aeronautic engineer. Now, this is a function of him getting exposure in that field. So I strongly believe that a lot of children, a lot of teenagers do not get adequate exposure to their area of strength or interest to be able to build capacity and understand better if they still want to remain within that space or not before they are 22 or 23, and then economic demands begin to come on them. So that's the reason we're having this program. We have a lot of professionals, that we can all relate with, that are going to be having, they're going to be speaking with the teenagers come August 9th to August 13th. It's a 5 days program, and it's a free program, but we want people to actually register for the program and then engage, with our facilitators for those 5 days. It's going to be taking place between 8:30 a.m. and 12:30 in the morning every day for 5 days. Engage, have conversations, and then, these kids can then learn from them, pick up mentors from there, ask us questions going forward, about their career journeys, and then, we'll be able to solve a number of unemployment problems, even from the beginning before they get to that point. So I think without taking too much of the time, let me just leave it at this, and then the floor is over back to you, madam.
All right. Thank you so much for that. It really is a robust program, and before the event comes up, we should have you again on the show, letting us know and keeping constant reminder. We would also keep these up in our show as we go on. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Kazim. Thank you so much for being here, Ugochi, and thank you to everyone of our tribe members who have been here today. Eunice Ehimogoe, Abigail Solomon, Olushola Olumide, thank you for being here and holding down the show with us. We wish you a beautiful weekend ahead and a great, great, great day. But we are not going to go away without giving you something to go into the weekend with. I'm not sure if Mr. Kazim knows our payoff line, but Ugochi, let's lead that. What do we call it now? Let's lead it this morning and leave our viewers, our tribe members, with something to cheer them up for the rest of the day. So, Ugochi, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So, 3, 2, 1, let's go. It's always a great morning on the Good Morning
Education Show.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
All right, bye. Thank you.